Your Steve Jones Show podcast is loading now. The Steve Jones Show podcast is sponsored by Purdy Insurance. Visit Purdy Insurance on Market Street in Sunbury or visit online at purdyinsurance.com.
Well, John, obviously it's a journey through the Patriot. Pros and cons along the way. You want to see growth. What growth are you seeing?
I'm seeing a growth in learning how to win. Quite frankly, the league season throughout the country right now, all teams are kind of experiencing the same. Some are having more success at the top of the league. Some are battling in the middle, and some are maybe on the wrong side of the ball more often than they like to be. And we're in the same world of just trying to learn how to win. I mean, we have I try to help our team and allow them grace in saying that we had 3 starters, game 2 of the Patriot League, the Patriot League season here. We played, our second game was against American. And I just giving them, again, just something perspective, something to hang on to, because we lost the game, and it was a good competitive battle. We just didn't make enough shots and get enough stops. And 3 of the starters didn't play in the second game of the Patriot League season last year. So they're gaining invaluable experience in all these close games, and the games that we've lost are, within 5 possessions where the ball doesn't bounce our way. We don't do what we need to do to give ourselves a chance to win, and that's just experience that is only really gained through being in these opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, that includes the tough overtime game against Lafayette, but you've been splitting weeks. Weeks, so it's not like you're not leaving a week empty along the way.
No, we're doing it the non-traditional way. We're losing our home games, win our road games. So.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Everybody has their own formula.
Just shows What's that? I'm sorry, Steve.
I said everybody has their own formula, John.
Yeah, no doubt. That's right.
Oh, but that's the crazy part about it. Now you had back-to-back road games, and this time you got a split out of that, which was a big plus. Would it be safe for me to say, and please correct me, that look at this stage you have a small margin for error? Is that safe?
Yeah, to an extent. I mean, I think right now, I hate to be cliche here, but at this point in the year, any team has a small margin of error. The Patriot League has a lot of parity, a lot of similar built teams. The scores are close. It's coming down to 5 possessions or less across the board, and I think that we are gaining invaluable experience in certain positions. One player, for example, is Noah Williamson, who's coming off a big double-double at Lafayette, and he's growing each and every day. So we do have a small margin of error, but as does everybody. And our margin of errors have changed from really turnovers, which we're not, fortunately for us, we're not turning it over as much, to now defensive lapses, because we're in position to win games in the last 5 minutes, and those are the most critical moments.
When we talk about close games, we always talk about the end of the game. It's a cliche. My business is just awful at cliches. There's not very many big picture people out there. How important is it for them to understand that they can put themselves in a great position because you can put somebody away in the first half of a game?
Yeah, I mean, that's the teaching tool, to your point right there. For me, for my staff, after losing an overtime game that came down to the last possession or two, a three-pointer that was missed and a foul was called, it's very easy to point to that moment and say that's the reason we lost. But to your point, we come back this morning with the mindset of teaching. We have to learn from the entirety of the game. There was many times throughout the course of our game on Saturday where we had a 14-point lead. We could have taken it to 16 or 18, and transition defense, offensive rebound, or just a poor possession on offense that didn't allow the defense to have to work, to get a stop. And those possessions need to hold the same value for a good team as that last possession.
How do you feel about the rotation right now, the number of minutes you're getting off the bench to then add in with the guys you have there playing the bulk of the minutes?
Yeah, I mean, I feel good. I'm comfortable with the rotation as it's set right now. We have some injuries, so that's forcing some of our starters to play larger minutes. And these injuries are a couple weeks away from getting back on the court. And so that's just kind of is what it is, the next man up type of mentality in our locker room where everyone's got to be ready to play. And I trust everyone, as does our staff, and trusting these guys that they're going to put forth the effort required to be in the game.
Now here's the tough one. How important is it when things aren't quite going right offensively that the players still understand the impact they can have defensively? Because you and I both know with youth, offense affects defense at times.
Yeah, no doubt. I think we got past that idea actually throughout the course of the non-conference schedule, maybe towards the end, because we didn't win the last 3 games of our non-conference, and it was not because of our offense, it was because of our defense. They were ugly basketball games. So the message in-house is if we have to win the game 2-0, we win the game 2-0. It's not aesthetically pleasing, and it's not going to draw a sellout. But at the end of the day, you play the games to win them, and I think our group right now is learning that you're not going to make every shot. And that shouldn't be the determining factor as to winning or losing. It certainly does help, for sure.
Yes.
It certainly helps. But the mentality cannot hang on a make versus a miss on the offensive side of things.
I mean, obviously, you've had a couple of guys out. That hasn't helped. What do you need to do now in terms of taking better care of the basketball, right? And thus, and not lose that turnover battle, which can take away possessions.
Yeah, I mean, the main thing really is trusting kind of the middle part of our shot clock, Steve. It's kind of unusual to talk about it like this, but there's the first 10 seconds of the shot clock usually is the most movement as it relates to either transition, finding an advantage because of pace of play. Then the gym kind of settles, and you're going to have to make decisions based on your habits, and you're going to have to trust those decisions and movement patterns. So we're at a stage right now where we have to move the ball from one side of the floor to the other to get the defense to shift to then attack. And there are times throughout the course of it really only shows its face in the last 10 minutes of games right now where the ball tends to stick on one side of the floor.
Yeah.
The defense then, in turn, doesn't move and is ready for any action that comes their way, and it just makes the decisions that much tougher, and you have to be that much more exact. So we just had to keep moving the ball, utilizing the fact that we have centers that can really move the ball from one side of the floor, which is an advantage for us, and play with an advantage as opposed to play with the gym that is just at a standstill.
Well, and that's I'll use a football analogy here. When you're talking about the middle part of the shot clock, that's equivalent to me of being good on second down, where you're staying away from third down because you're good on second down, or you're setting up third and short because you were good on second down. That middle part of the shot clock can set all sorts of good things in motion if you handle it right.
That's completely accurate. And if we can get a third and short as opposed to third and long, then you're in a much better, look, it's not going to be perfect, but throughout the course of a 40-minute game, the more that you're inching towards that first down at the end of a second down as opposed to, having to throw a third and 12, then you're in a better spot. I mean, look, it's a great analogy because it's very unlikely that you're on first down having a ridiculously high completion rate. Same for basketball. I mean, there are teams that play very fast. They play very fast. They stick to that style. It's a hurry-up. In keeping with the football analogy, it's a hurry-up brand of football. You just never huddle. But, there's another side to that where you can wear yourself out and give too many possessions to the opponent. So we just have to get better on second and third down, and we're improving in that. in those categories, but we just have to keep improving because we've been up double digits now 2 games in a row. We have to finish these games.
Right, and that'll be the key for you. How do you finish the games? Because if you're in a position to be up 10 to 16, whatever it happens to be, you're good enough to finish the game. I mean, I'm sure you've told your team that 1,000 times.
Yeah. I mean, and that just comes down to a little bit of experience. And what I mean by experience when it comes to winning a game when you're up by double digits, a 2-point shot only counts as 2 points.
Right.
When you have been in that moment enough, your poise, your approach allows you to think a 2-pointer is a 2-pointer. But if you haven't been in that situation a lot, 2-pointers can feel like 6-pointers, like emotionally.
Oh, yeah.
They can get the crowd going a little bit, and it can create a little bit of disruption on the offensive end, and you don't want too many of those type of sequences. So you have to limit those sequences and while still staying aggressive, be smart with the basketball, and then you have to defend.
Something that I've noticed over the long time of doing this is sometimes the team will get a lead, and you'll have a couple of guys out there with the lead that will take a couple of, like, hey, I'm going to take this shot. Like, just play the game. Right? To me, that's the maturity part right there where it comes into play. Like, no, just run the offense. There's a reason why John designed the play. Run it.
Yeah, and I would say that in today's age of basketball, leads are never safe.
That's right.
You see it so often, and a big reason for them never being safe is, quite frankly, the shot clock, the length of possessions have all shortened, the style of play has changed. All it takes is 4 possessions to hit 4 threes, and it's a 12-0 run. Yep. And that 18-point lead is now down to 6. So, there is definitely a growth and a learning curve to staying ahead by double digits when you're up double digits in the second half. At the same time, what you see around college basketball, you see it in the NBA actually pretty frequently. Leads are never safe. Teams never quit. And the three-point line and the pace of play has changed that way in which we've all known of, like, the flex offense, 35 seconds on the shot clock, and just winning by running down the clock.
Yeah, I saw Bruce Parkhill run that flex late game over and over and over again when he was here at Penn State, which then brings up your next game, Ed DeChellis and Navy coming in. What's the general feel you have for Ed's teams this year?
I mean, they're typical Navy basketball is very physical, fearless, and competitive. And his team mirrors the mission of the Naval Academy. Right. They play very hard. They run a lot of different sets to find advantages for their better players, which can be really challenging to prepare for. And, he's been coaching for such a long time. You can just see his teams are very well organized, very well prepared, and offensively they have a purpose. And those are really hard teams to play against. They have done a nice job, and they're 4-2. They've won 2 in a row, and they just beat Army in a huge Navy-Army game. So it'll be a tough challenge for us.
Oh, no question. The late Walter Barr used to say whenever Penn State played a service academy, he said, Steve, they're preparing for something else compared to what we're preparing our people for. This will be at Soika. Yep, Soika. Wednesday night, 7 o'clock. Yep. John, good luck, and thanks so much for the time again today. Always so thoughtful. No, appreciate it.
Yeah, you got it.
John Griffin, the head coach of the Bucknell basketball team. They've got Navy at Soika on Wednesday at 7 o'clock. We will come back with more in a moment. Great to have you with us today. Brought to you by Purdy Insurance on News Radio 1070 WKOK.